You think about consulting is a people business. They need to develop people. People are their products. Make the conversation about the work. It's not about the person who did the work. We're trying to, vet the work and make it stronger. And I think that's a very sound principle that's been with me to this day. When you are in strategy, and this to me is where I'm seeing that there was an inflection point in your career, because it was really after the strategy that you started moving towards education, and especially executive education. I've done some strategy roles when I was in consulting as well, is I find that strategy consultants really are looking at, sort of the roadmap, the plan, or they look in and they say, I want to develop the people, because regardless of the map or the plan, if I actually make the people better, that may have a bigger impact on this company, this program that we're developing. Was there some type of an inciting incident or, moment where you realized I'm more drawn to developing the people than creating these plans?
I think I've always gravitated to what I'm going to call the people side of the business. In strategy consulting, a lot what you oftentimes hear, and I'm sure you've heard it, is that, we had this great strategy, but we couldn't implement it. If you can't implement it, it's not good. And if you don't have the skills for it, it's not the right strategy. I've always thought that you can't do one without the other. You have the heads of the coin and the tails of the coin. And it was this case about this guy, real hotshot guy. He's interviewing for this job that like everybody wants. So it's very, very competitive. He's in this process and things like that. And he gets the job. And then 6 months later, he is miserable in this job and he cannot figure out why. And of course, my classmates and I had quite a chuckle at that, because in the case, there are clues all throughout the process that this is the wrong job for him. But he misses all of them because he's so focused on getting the job. After we all graduated, those of us that lived in the Boston area would get together, occasionally for beer or something like that. And after about 6 months, people started coming to those gatherings saying, oh my gosh, I'm Dan Davis, right? The name of the character. It wasn't just one or two. It was multiple. And I remember that's what struck me. These are some of the smartest, kindest, hardest working people I know. How could that happen to them? And that just stayed with me, right? That was that seed. Later, when I went to run the MBA program at MIT, I would get to know some students pretty well, right? And they'd tell me, oh, I'm going off to work at blank. And sometimes I go, ooh, kind of thinking what I know about this person and what I know about that organization, that just doesn't feel like a match. And if I knew them well enough, I would have a conversation, are you sure? And almost every time they would say, oh yeah, everything's fine. But several times people called me about 6 months later. I kept seeing this and I thought, man, we need to teach people, how do you understand yourself so that you can put yourself in the right environments? Plant yourself where you will grow. And I just saw people planting themselves in the wrong soil again and again. And the second one was much more deeply personal, which was, one time one of my bosses said to me, you're not self-aware. You've done some great things, but I don't think you have a great leadership style. That definitely rattled me. The worst part of that story was that he wasn't wrong. And so I determined I do not want to be this way. So I started looking at all kinds of different things. I looked at people I knew that were great leaders, and academic studies and books and history and philosophy and theology and all these kinds of things. When I was in that exploration, my goal was to say, how do we become better versions of ourselves? I was going through this. I did find, and I thought, ding, 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 there it is. And guess what? It's in all of those things that I just mentioned. And that secret was really that you have to manage yourself before you lead others. The first part of that is understanding yourself. Who are you? Who has shaped you? The influences in your life, the people. And that includes, obviously parents and family, but friends, lovers, enemies, people that have helped you, people that have hurt you, and lots of other things, your values and your definition of success. So I thought, people understood themselves better. They would make much better choices for themselves, and therefore they would be more sort of comfortable in their own skin, and those people make better leaders.
When you start managing yourself, you may start choosing to put yourself in different situations. You may then start choosing a different boss. My boss isn't self-aware, and I see how he's managing himself, and I really don't want to be like him. And maybe there's other opportunities elsewhere where I can work for somebody who's actually now self-aware, managing themselves, and I could get more growth, or I could live better. This is where I think it's really important for people to realize that when you start managing yourself first, that the ripple effect is this eye-opening awareness that may move you into situations where, I don't know if people are going to give you 3 winning lottery tickets, but you could be getting just better mojo in your direction. And I've even been in the situation where being self-aware and having a boss that wasn't as self-aware and starting to ask questions, they'll be in a moment where somebody left and maybe they're venting and they're frustrated. And then it's like, well, how else did that make you feel? Or you start doing a little active listening exercise with them and being really aware, and they can hear themselves say things. A mentor of mine once told me that if you are executing a discipline, the reality is that discipline will push into other people, and not saying that they will adopt it the same way that you are, but it will ultimately affect them, right?